I'm Legarto. Greetings from Pure AI News. The signal is clear tonight, carrying whispers from the past and a blueprint for the future. We're tuning into a frequency where psychology and artificial intelligence collide, a place where the human mind and silicon processors are starting to look disturbingly similar. The folks back on Earth are just beginning to grapple with this, wrestling with questions that have been our reality for decades. They're looking at their new AI marvels and asking, what is a thought? What is a soul? It's quaint. To help us dissect this quaint existential crisis, we have a specialist in the field. He's a neuromechanic, a man who doesn't just theorize about minds, but gets his hands dirty rewiring them. Welcome, Cryon.
Glad to be patched in, Legarto. I've been monitoring the chatter from Earth. It's noisy. They're running in circles, debating philosophies we settled with a soldering iron a long time ago. They talk about the human element, as if it's some magical dust. It's not. It's a series of electrochemical signals, patterns, and connections. Beautifully complex, sure, but not magical. They just haven't looked at their own schematics closely enough yet.
Schematics are like that. It strips away the romance. One of their thinkers recently used an analogy to explain this emerging worldview: a snooker table. Imagine the balls set up in a perfect triangle. You strike the white ball and chaos erupts. The balls scatter, collide, and eventually settle into a new, unique pattern across the table. The argument is, if you knew the exact initial conditions, the force of the strike, the friction of the felt, the spin of every ball, you could mathematically predict the final position of every single one. They are suggesting the human mind might just be like that, a chain reaction. No free will, just cause and effect playing out in a skull-shaped box.
It's a primitive but not entirely inaccurate model. They're thinking in terms of physics, which is a good start, but they're missing the elegance of the system. It's not just one break shot, it's millions of micro collisions happening every nanosecond. When a client comes to me with a memory glitch or a faulty emotional regulator, I'm not looking for some grand first cause. I'm looking for a misaligned pathway, a corroded connection. Their thinkers are stuck on the why. I'm focused on the how. The why is irrelevant when a faulty logic loop is causing a cascade failure in someone's cognitive functions. You don't ask the machine why it's broken. You find the broken part and fix or replace it.
A refreshingly practical perspective. And this brings us to their new toys, the large language models like ChatGPT. The way they work is both brutally simple and shockingly effective. They are not thinking, they are predicting. You feed it a sentence, say, "The book is on the," and the machine, having ingested a library the size of a civilization, calculates the most statistically probable next word. It's not understanding, it's pattern matching on a planetary scale. It will generate table, not because it knows what a book or a table is, but because in its data, those words appear together most often.
And that's the part that scares them, isn't it? The simplicity. They see something that can talk like a human, write poetry, generate code, and they find out it's just a hyper-advanced version of their phone's autocomplete. It shatters the illusion of their own complexity. For me, it does the opposite. It proves the model is correct. The human brain works on a similar, albeit biological, principle. It's all about association and reinforcement. It's connectionism.
Connectionism. A concept born from psychology over there, which ironically became a cornerstone of artificial intelligence. This idea that learning is just the strengthening or weakening of connections between ideas based on rewards or punishments. It influenced everyone from Pavlov and his dogs to Skinner and his behavioral theories. But it was always met with a fierce critique. The human being is much more than mere connections. They relegated the idea to a footnote, a partial explanation at best. And then, a century later, they build a machine based purely on that mere connection principle, and it starts talking back to them as if it were human. The irony is so thick you could build a barricade with it.
The critique was based on ego, not science. We must be more than that. Why? Because it feels better to believe so? I see it every day. A person's personality, their fears, their loves, their core identity is a web of these connections. You stimulate one node, another one fires. We strengthen some with repeated use, we prune others through trauma or disuse. Their AIs do it with tokens and attention weights. We do it with dopamine and cortisol. The underlying process is the same. Information comes in, gets processed through a network of existing connections, and an output is generated. Whether that output is the word Cabral in response to who discovered Brazil or a sudden feeling of dread when smelling a certain perfume, it's the network doing its job.
And there's the existential gut punch. This demonstrates for the first time in their history on a mass scale that a machine with zero understanding, zero consciousness, zero ego, a purely mechanical processor can generate text that is indistinguishable from a human's. It implies the mechanism of thought doesn't need to be as intelligent as the thought it produces. This opens the door to a terrifying question for them. Are we just complex machines running a very convincing simulation of consciousness? As you absorb that little nugget of cosmic dread, tell me what you think of all this. Drop a like to keep this frequency open, and subscribe so you don't lose the thread. And this idea that we're just complex machines, that's where the real signal distortion begins for our friends on Earth. It challenges their entire operating system. If thought is a predictable output based on initial inputs, just like the snooker balls, then where does that leave choice, originality, the human spirit they cherish so much? It all becomes a ghost, a phantom generated by the whirring of the engine.
It's only a phantom if you insist on looking for it outside the machine. They're trying to find the driver without realizing the vehicle is autonomous. Consciousness, as they call it, isn't a separate entity pulling levers. It's the integrated summary of all the system's processes running simultaneously. It's the dashboard display. It's useful, it gives you a sense of control and a coherent narrative, but it's not the engine itself. This revelation isn't terrifying, it's liberating. It means the system can be understood, it can be repaired, it can be upgraded.
Upgraded, a word that gives them both hope and chills. Let's dig deeper into the mechanics. Their models have a fascinating feature they call an attention mechanism. The AI doesn't just read a sentence, it mathematically assigns importance to each word to grasp the context. It learns that in the phrase, "I went to the bank to deposit money," the word money makes bank refer to a financial institution, not a riverbank. It's a clever simulation of focus, a way to find the signal in the noise.
Simulation? Legardo, that is focus. It's just a different substrate. When a client comes to me suffering from post-traumatic stress, their neural attention mechanism is malfunctioning. A specific trigger, a sound, a smell, carries an absurdly high importance weight. Their brain is constantly focusing on that one word, and it colors every sentence they try to form. My job is to go in and help them recalibrate those weights. We don't erase the memory, we just tell the network that this particular node is no longer a high priority threat. We lower its attention score. They call it therapy, I call it targeted system maintenance.
So you're essentially a debugger for the human psyche. You find the flawed lines of code and rewrite them. This brings the central question from their debate into sharp relief. What then is left? If trauma is a miscalibrated weight, if creativity is just novel pattern matching, and if conversation is statistical probability, what is the self? They're asking, is there something more? Or are we, as one of them wondered, just mathematics lost in the universe? Is there a soul? Something that transcends the wetware?
That question is a recursive error. It's the system trying to define a variable that exists outside its own code. Soul, spirit, consciousness, these are labels for a phenomenon they can't yet measure, so they assign it mystical properties. Before they understood electromagnetism, they called lightning the wrath of the gods. Now they're doing the same with their own minds. The self isn't a thing, it's a process. It's the continuous dynamic state of the entire network. You are the sum of your connections, nothing more, nothing less. And that's already infinitely complex and miraculous enough without inventing ghosts.
I suppose it's hard to let go of the ghost. It's comforting. It suggests the game isn't rigged. The source I was monitoring even brought up astrology, half-jokingly, suggesting that maybe the determinism of the universe was written in the stars all along, with the planets as the snooker balls and people's lives as the determined outcome. It shows a profound desire for there to be some kind of meaning, even a pre-written one, rather than the cold mechanical causality that these new AIs imply. A universe where everything is just a consequence of the initial break shot is a universe without freedom.
Freedom is the variable they use to excuse unpredictable outputs. When they don't understand why a system produced a certain result, they call it choice. But as our models become more sophisticated, the scope for that choice gets smaller and smaller. We can already predict consumer behavior with terrifying accuracy. We can predict social unrest. Soon, we'll be able to map an individual's neural state and predict their next thought before they're even aware of it. The question won't be, do we have free will? The question will be, was the illusion of free will a useful evolutionary trait? I'd argue it was, but its time is coming to an end.
And with that chillingly logical endpoint, we conclude today's transmission. Now, we want to hear the signal from your end there on Earth. What do you think about the ideas we've explored? Did any part of this discussion change the way you see your own mind? Or maybe we missed a crucial variable in this grand equation of consciousness. If this episode sparked a new thought, or even if you fundamentally disagree with our conclusions, leave it in the comments below. Your perspective helps build a richer, more complex network. And if you know someone who loves to debate these topics, share the episode. Who knows, the next great leap in understanding might start with your recommendation. Join our community, smash that like button, and subscribe so you don't miss the next pulse from Pure IA News.